The very first industrial revolution started with the discovery of using steam as a source of power. We've then moved through the revolutions where we've discovered electricity and further to that, computers. Now we're actually moving into the fourth industrial revolution. We're very much seeing radical technological improvements and advancements, essentially creating a space where anyone can own and develop a product cheaply and quickly. This is obviously a dramatic place for us to be in, and brands need to be taking notice.
People have less and less time nowadays, so if they go shopping, they do it as part of a leisure time, as a hobby. So make the hobby good. Introduce a cafe, a beauty parlor, and a restaurant. Introduce other items to your range in order to really make shopping at your place an experience. Luxury fashion retailers can create a more enriched experience by coming back to a concept store feeling. That means you have within your store maybe a beauty parlor, because the girl who would like to buy a £2,000 dress would like to know exactly how she's going to look at it. As a matter of fact, the world is changing very rapidly. Nowadays, retailers need to respond to this change quickly and effectively, online and offline, in order to keep their consumer base.
So within the physical landscape of retail, we're really starting to see a shift in the way spaces are used, in landscapes within localities, but also across the world. There is much more frequent pop-up opportunities and spaces that people can test new markets.
We probably should start by defining what neuroscience is, which is the study of the central nervous system and the brain. Within the entire system, there's over 100 billion neurons, and each neuron is making over 1,000 connections. So that gives you an idea of how vast it is. So you've got the microbiological, so how amino acids and proteins play a role in neuronal connections, but then you also have all the way up to the networks, and how the networks then play an influence on behavior faculties like attention and perception. We are entering what is being dubbed as the fourth industrial revolution. So this means that the customer is leading industry rather than the other way around. So it's not a top-down. Because of that, more industries, whether it's smart cities or it's retail, we're becoming more interested in how the customer works. So this is where we started working with Scene, is how the consumer is changing, but also how does the consumer perceive a retail experience. Psychology has played a huge role in retail before, and also there's been a lot of mechanistic influence in retail that we understand how things need to be lit or how things need to be laid out, but we haven't had the study of how this influences cognitive behaviors like attention and perception, because attention now is becoming a huge factor in how human behavior is changing. So because we have much more access to digital devices, which allows us to have a much more oversensed existence, right? That is causing what's called a cognitive load. So we're fatigued. And so instead of creating environments where we're just oversaturating the senses, now we want to create environments, retail environments that are orchestrated and that are enriched, and that we understand at each given moment how the person is going to be perceiving that environment. So a really great example of an enriched environment and an orchestrated environment is the concept store Modern Society. So one of the definitions of an enriched environment is that you have multi-layers in activity and also multi-layers in social interactivity. So in the case of Modern Society, they give you different points of contact with the products, but also maybe even an opportunity to interact with different staff members. So you can be getting a cup of coffee, and whilst you're waiting for that, you can also be looking at accessories.
So for the first event, the report's written, we're then challenged with how do we share this information to the industry? What we landed on was a concept of sharing. For me, it felt like it was the right place to start, because I very much want this to feel like a positive contribution to the industry rather than anything that was protective of information. So for us, it was really important to invite absolutely everybody that it might be relevant for and be really open and share the information. The learnings from the report were fundamental to us ensuring that this event was as effective as possible. We used the cognitive processes to very much orchestrate a sensorial experience, which would create then a much more enriched memory for people to biologically connect with and physically connect with at a later date when sharing it or receiving or talking about the information.
So being part of the event and part of the panellists, it was great to be able to observe the reaction in the room and the excitement of the information that's been delivered. And you could really tell that everybody was so excited and fired up and wanted to get back into their environments and start spreading the word and to start going out and delivering something new. One of the surprising things for me was the relevance of the content in the first session. A lot of it rang true for me, especially being in retail design, but for the financial sector. And focusing on, we very much need to connect with our customer, and it's about how they feel when they're in our space, when we're helping them with important conversations. I felt a real connection with this report because it mirrors my own values around customer-centric design and helps me deliver to my stakeholders credibly.
It's definitely the most unique and challenging brief we've worked on to date. It's quite uncharted territory in terms of our industry, and so it was quite risky, but I think everyone, the whole team, took it on quite heads on, and that helps us continue to be more groundbreaking. Just like any of our other briefs, we always really started by questioning and challenging the brief. For example, why does this event actually need to take place, and why does it need to exist? Why would some of our brand partners or our audience actually come to this? And I think quite importantly is how are we actually adding value to the industry? After several discussions with Lucy, multiple brainstorm sessions, and a lot of research, we realized this was going to be an experiential event. But what we wanted to do is not use our learnings and actually share them with the industry. We wanted to take it one step further and actually put our methodology to the test in a live format, and hence giving our brand partners a truly collaborative chance to work with us. And this is how we landed on Pangea 2.0. We wanted to create and display this concept of global citizens whilst actually giving everyone their own unique and personal experience that at the same time actually apply to our diverse audience.
All right, so we're at Pangea 2.0, and we're actually going to start looking at taking those 4 cognitive processes, which we learned in the first part of the event and the series.
And this one is a little bit more exciting, I think, because it's more to do with a kind of immersive installation, and it's really kind of just putting this research into action. If our research is right and our findings are correct, then people will enjoy it and people will be engaged with it, and it will be a memorable experience for them.
Start in the intro bit, which is actually still in build at the moment, is where our guests are actually going to be putting together a bit of their own origami.
So this is one of the experience tunnels where we're actually going to be asking guests to almost relive some of their previous experiences and that help identify their actual characters.
Some of the experiences we're going to be doing there is going to be really trying to touch on elements like nostalgia, something that's really, we know, links with emotion and memories, and something that tends to actually stick with us for a very long time.
I've not really done anything like that for a while. Definitely a very unique experience. Very cool.
Multi-sensory and clever.
It's quite intimidating walking into a shower curtain that's shut with the sound of someone kind of singing. Quite sort of weirdly unnerving experience.
Thought it was amazing.
Unconventional. I think people are now resonating more to that personal connection.
It kind of mirrored the whole kind of social media and Instagram generation at the moment. I remembered things about myself that I'd forgotten.
One word is fun, which is so nice because we live in such a grown-up, straight-laced world that it's nice to come and just do something engaging and fun and just throw inhibitions out the window and just get involved.
It was really important to test our methodology before implementing in industry because it was something so brand new. We needed to approach it with an openness and experimentation and be excited about testing this new idea rather than coming to it with a critical lens and being quite focused on exactly what we need to achieve from it. Like with anything new, we very much needed to test it and be really confident before implementing it into industry that this was a methodology that worked and had relevance. It really helped to treat the second event like a live experiment. It ensured that internally we were really excited and playful and judgment-free with our ideas. It also helped set expectations externally for people to come with a sense of exploration, to collaborate with us and to be excited about what they were going to discover. We used the experiment to test different spaces and different levels of interaction, but what was interesting about the ball pool was that we, in that space, paired novelty and nostalgia, and that was considered to be the most memorable space. We can prove that the activation was effective by looking at the data and analysing that against the hypotheses that we set out at the beginning. The most rewarding aspect of the activation was looking at how people responded to the space, having arrived from a busy Tuesday at work where they're feeling overloaded and disengaged, to experiencing something where they were able to enjoy themselves and feel playful and energised. Starting from a place of education, moving that through to, as we're learning, feeling enlightened and excited, and then taking that understanding into a space where we can experiment and again reflect and learn and perfect. There's been a keen interest since the second event took place for further understanding around the research. People are requesting us to spend more time with them, educating them on the topics, on the concepts, and that has led us to understanding that there is a need for a workshop series, something that we can go into people's spaces and collaborate with them and understand their challenges while personalising some of the research. So it's really relevant for them, their business and their audience. I hope that revealing the process behind our discoveries and sharing this research so openly, above all else, sparks discussion, collaboration and experimentation. We can't shift a global economy one brand at a time. We need to come together to shift our industry's position to one of progression, with humankind driving our purpose and relevance.